So how do we form? I mean, we're the first program of its sort in the Western world. I have been almost since its founding in connection with, and it turns out that one of my early students at LMU grew up attending the first modern yoga university program in India, affiliated with Bangalore University. It's called SVS, and I've been visiting there since 1989. And they saw the need to take the benefits of yoga into the broader society. And they, right there locally on a 100-acre campus, now sort of surrounded with Bangalore, but back then it was way out in the countryside. The growth in India of cities is remarkable. But what they did was they said people need to know Sanskrit. They need to know the Yoga Sutra. They need to know at least the Bhagavad Gita. They need to know the Hatha Yoga texts. And I took this and sort of brought it to an even higher level, so that as I first proposed this curriculum, the university kept on saying, no, no, no. And then finally, a dean said, well, you can make a certificate. People don't really need to know anything to do yoga. And I was like, oh, Jiminy Cricket. But what happened was we started with the certificates. That's how Susan got involved. And then after we had certificated more than 1,000 people within 5 years, actually within about 5 years, they said, oh, well, you should have a graduate program, some new administrators. So I said, okay, yes, sure. And it took 5 years to get approval. But as you enter the program, you'll be doing Sanskrit for as many as 3 semesters. Why foreign language? Why classical language? Because it's sacred, because it gives amazing structure to your ability to process information. Katie,
I'm just curious, what was the resistance in the beginning? It's such a
in
good
the
story.
beginning,
Yeah, why did they
um,
keep saying no?
yeah, because it had never been done before.
Mm.
There was no other program. And when I had to do the comparison programs, I had to use the India programs. And there was a little bit of fear. Like the dean that I first brought this to was a member of the Religious of the Sacred Heart of Mary. And,
Mm.
there at that time in the 90s, there was a great fear of meditation and in the Catholic tradition. And uh, there was a Monsignor Ratzinger who had wrote a document condemning people who meditate. So they were very suspicious and
Mm.
fearful. And then times changed. So, so language. Mantras are in Sanskrit, and to understand the fluidity of Sanskrit is just such an enhancement. So, second, you do physical aspects, learning how um, learning the body parts and the muscles and the bones, and learning the subtle body. Learning, as we did in Canyon Retreat up in Beverly Hills on Thursday and Friday, Ashvini Mudra, Vajroli Mudra, Muladhara, and the ascent of the chakras, the applications of the bandhas, which again, since I first discovered my yoga teacher, a woman from Calcutta, I've been doing those tribandhas every morning for more than 50 years. So that carries through into Health Science 1, Hatha Yoga texts, and then various aspects of our study of modern forms of yoga. And then some people decide to concentrate in this and to do either a postgraduate certificate or take additional health science courses as part yoga therapy, as part of a concentration in yoga therapy. Then about 5, 6 of the courses are really the psychology, the spirituality, the history, the philosophy of the Hindu tradition, Vedas, Upanishads, Sankhya, Yoga, Vedanta, Sri Aurobindo, Swami Vivekananda, so much. You do a full university graduate seminar in Buddhist tradition, a full university seminar in the Jain or the Jain tradition that I mentioned earlier. And you also do a course, if you so opt, in comparative mysticism. And I'm teaching that course right now. We do William James, we do Carl Jung, we do Kabbalah, we do Rumi, we do Sufism. It's one of my favorites. And it's a little bit of a throwback to the 60s, but boy, the 60s were great. I was there, even though I was young. And then we have a course on yoga, modern yoga, mindfulness, and social change. And that was sort of Katie's passion. It's now been fully integrated into the MA curriculum, where we sort of interrogate, Gandhi changed the world through yoga. He had taken initiation from Paramahansa Yogananda and took those foundational practices of ahimsa, nonviolence, and satyagraha, holding to truth and authenticity, and overthrew colonialism worldwide, overthrew the premises that capitalism is the only way to go. And we have so much to continue to learn from Gandhi, so much to explore in the context of that course. We begin it all with a foundations, which is residential. We'd invite you in from Ohio and Colorado and from the Virgin Islands. And 2 weeks, we live together, we study together, we travel together. We go hither and yon within historic Yoga LA and Ojai, and we set you on a course of research and writing. And then you could opt to stay on and do additional coursework that we're trying to finagle so that you can make this applicable toward an EDD, yoga therapy additional work. And but you graduate in 2 or 3 or more years. And we, as you've heard, have built a really wonderful community of now it must be more than 100 graduates from the program. And yeah, I'm really happy to share and look forward to any corrections from Laura or Katie, or any questions from any and all of you.
Yeah, no corrections. I appreciate all of that history. Thank you so much, Dr. Chappell. And I just wanted to, how you're saying we were the first program, we were recently on Jeopardy. Um, just naming that LMU offered the first yoga studies program.
Yeah, we
Graduate
were on
program.
Jeopardy. It was a question on Jeopardy. It was great.
Yeah. But yeah, let's pause here before Dr. Lori Fazio and Dr. Zoe Slatoff join our other professors. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Chappell or about the program specifically? We'll give more time for questions after the other two professors share. But I know this is a longer info session, so we just want to pause and hear from you all if you have any questions or even comments on what Dr. Chappell shared.
Yeah, let me clarify that we were the first program at the university. And believe me, I've chaired departments, I've founded and directed other programs than this. I was associate academic vice president for 5 years. And I've done a lot. But I wanted to point out that we're the first program at the university to be fully online, and that every session, every learning session is both live streamed like this and video archived. So that if you're remote, you're as if in the classroom. We got a grant. One of our alums sort of outfitted our classroom, so they're the best for this. And we all got even more better with Zoom, but that's a feature that allows us to welcome in people. Okay, so Judith.
Yes, I just was wondering, do you still have the certificate programs available?
Yes, yes, yes. We now run the certificate programs. They used to be in a different unit of the university. And the yoga philosophy certificate gets paired with some yoga teacher training certificates, one in Ventura County, one in LA County, one in Orange County locally. And we also have a yoga for the prime of life certificate. And we have an Ayurveda track that some people follow. So, yes, absolutely. And if you decide that you just really want to start slowly with a certificate, it's required to do a certificate in order to complete the degree program. So, yes, and you could even hop on in January. We have a sequence of courses in the Sankhya Karika, the Upanishads, and the Bhagavad Gita that will be available. So, yeah, the certificates, very, very, very much so. And later tonight, I'll be teaching a certificate that is both enrolling students from the United States and a group of students studying together in India. And then in December, I will join the India students so that we will have FaceTime together during that period.
And so with the certificates, if you do go the slow pace, but decide to take the master's, will that be able to coincide or overlap with the
Yeah,
master's
you,
program?
you can overlap it. Yeah. So if you start with the yoga philosophy certificate and then sort of enroll in the program as you finish whatever hours that you need. And then the other piece is that if you are most interested in yoga therapy, then you might want to pause, or actually you could probably enroll. We have an online partner program with people that went through our training through a studio called Be the Change in Irvine, and
Okay.
they, that would be the yoga therapy certificate hours that would apply.
Okay. And then I'm actually in the process of getting my yoga 200. Would that be um, used or be able to apply somewhere somehow?
Well, you sort of need the Yoga Therapy 200, I mean, the Yoga Alliance 200 hours
Hmm.
to think about becoming a yoga therapist. It's a requirement, but
Okay.
they usually don't. If it carries university credit, then you could apply it, but most of them do not.
Okay.
And Dr. Chappell and Judith also, and something I also like to mention that I think some people aren't aware of is that if you complete the MA program, that can also earn you 300 hours, your advanced 300 hour certification.
That's right. So you come
Uh,
in with the 200 and then you complete the MA and you get the extra 300. And that means that you could apply for the 500, I think. Is that the way it works?
yeah, exactly. So then you have
Oh, okay.
500 hours. Yeah,
So the
you're
master's program is considered the 300 RAT.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And I'm gonna just drop in the chat. I know we still have another hour left, but in case anyone needs to hop off or anything early at any point, there's a link here to schedule a one-on-one appointment with Ayana. So if you've taken some classes or you have questions about which track or if anything will carry over, she can really just hone into your situation and get you get you can make sure that you're signed up for the right, track and what's going to align with your needs and wants. And here's Dr. Slaytoff now. Does anyone have any other questions before we pass it over? Okay, welcome, Dr. Zoe Slaytoff.
Hello.
We were just having a brief little Q&A. We'll do another one after you and Dr. Fazio share. But I think we're done with questions. So if you want to share a little bit
Yeah,
about.
we're welcoming you to share your story and to share about Sanskrit a little bit and about some of the projects that you hope to supervise in the spring.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you and see you, Laura. I owe you a message. Um, and so, yes, I've been studying Sanskrit for almost 25 years. I started my first trip to India when I was 20, where I went to study yoga, and my teacher was also a Sanskritist, and I would hear him quote these texts, and I just am a very curious person, so I wanted to know what he was talking about. So I started studying in India, and then I came back. I've studied on my own, and eventually wanted to take it further, and went back to school at Columbia in New York, where I'm from. I was in a PhD program there, but I decided to take a break after the master's, which I'm glad I did, because during that time, I had a yoga studio in New York for many years. I also wrote a Sanskrit textbook, which is the one that you will learn from if you're in the program. And I sort of wrote it, I feel like, for you, for this program. It teaches Sanskrit through yoga texts, so that you get to dive in and read the texts yourself, from the beginning. And yeah, I then went back to school again, and did a PhD in Lancaster in the UK as a distance program. And yeah, I feel very fortunate to have ended up here, and to get to sort of integrate this and bring it together. And we start off, we learn a lot of grammar, but we do it through reading yoga texts. And yeah, we have a fall semester and a spring semester, Sanskrit 1 and 2, and then also a third semester in the second year, which we encourage you to do, although the third semester is optional. And yeah, just to give you an idea, some of our graduate students who are writing their thesis in this spring, we have one student who is working on a translation of the Yoga and I'm so glad she's doing this, because there isn't a good translation, and it's quite a hard text. So I'm really excited for her project. We're having a lot of fun with it. We have another student who's writing about prana and the breath and the mind and sort of their historical relationship, and also looking at different texts. Last year, we had somebody who translated some passages from the Mahabharata and the Yoga Vasishta, and wrote about compassion in yoga texts. And then we have students who sort of bridge between yoga philosophy and yoga therapy, and Laura's nodding her head, and try to bring it all together. And so, which we love. And so we really, invite you to explore. And people often come in thinking they're going to do one thing and then end up doing something else. And it kind of, it evolves as you're here. And people are often scared to learn Sanskrit, but I am here to make it fun. I wouldn't say I'm here to make it easy, but I'm here to make it fun, enjoyable, and there comes a point after not that long where all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, we've really learned a lot. And my first year students are just getting to that point of realizing how far they've come from when we first started learning the alphabet. So yeah, I'm here to answer any questions you may have, either now or by email. Thank you. Laura, looks like she had her hand up.
Yeah. I just wanted to say what I really loved about your class is that you seem to use all parts of your brain to learn Sanskrit. It's very mathematical in a sense and very structured, but then it's also so beautiful and poetical. And so it really does make you use all of your faculties, and it's just such a great process. And I really loved your class.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that. Yes, originally I studied engineering. I also have a musical background and sort of studied literature. And it's sort of, I love, as Laura said, you can come to it from any of those angles, and then the other pieces kind of fill in over time. So it's definitely a whole brain activity, whole brain, whole person, whole heart, all of it. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Slaytop. I haven't gotten to take any of your classes, but I will share that, yeah, I had a lot of resistance to like, what? I have to learn Sanskrit, and it was really enjoyable. And I'm so grateful it's part of the program. We did have a question earlier just about the yoga philosophy certificate. Do you want to just share any quick little nuggets
Sure.
about that as well? Yeah.
So I'm teaching the yoga philosophy certificate courses also this year. We are currently midway through the Yoga Sutra class. In the spring, we'll do the Sankhya Karika and Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. And yeah, we meet, the Yoga Sutra course is 8 weeks. The other ones are 4 weeks each, and we meet for 2.5 hours a week. It's kind of an intensive, wonderful experience. We do some chanting, we do some discussion. And it's really, up to you at what level you do it. I give, a fair bit of extra material for those who want it. And some people want it now, some people want it later. But it's really, you don't need any background, or you can have a lot of background. And it's sort of, it's a mixed group. And yeah, it's lots of fun. Thursdays, 10:30 to 1 Pacific time. It is also recorded, so if you can't be there live, that's okay also.
Thank you, Zoe. I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Fazio now. She's going to talk about health science and the yoga therapy portion of the program. And then after that, we'll do some more questions, and then we'll share a little bit more about how to apply and tuition and things like that. So, Dr. Fazio.
Thank you, Katie. Can you all hear me? Okay, great. Hi, nice to see everybody. So I am the clinical professor of yoga and health. So I teach the health science classes. So this is the track that it is either the yoga therapy concentration or the postgraduate certificate in yoga therapy. So everybody takes the first semester a class called Health Science and Yoga 1. No matter what track you're on, you take that class. And in that class, we look at the human body through both the modern medical systems categories, cardiovascular, respiratory, musculoskeletal, etc., as well as through the yogic body. So that would be the subtle body, the chakras, the nadis, the vayus, even the doshas. And we look at it from both of these perspectives, and then we kind of put it together, look at them from both perspectives, and then how it applies to our lives, using both of those lenses. And then for those who are interested in doing the yoga therapy concentration or the postgraduate certificate in yoga therapy, there are 3 more courses. So those courses are Health Science and Yoga 2, Yoga Therapy Applications, and a practicum class. So in Health Science and Yoga 2, we look at the health benefits of various yoga practices. So various pranayama, asana, mudras, mantra, bandhas, even dinacharya. And we look at both the modern medical science, the evidence behind, for example, Brahmari, which the modern medical science behind the effects that Brahmari has on our psychological, physiological, emotional well-being. And then we also look at it from a classical textual perspective. So we put those together, and the way that what you do, rather than just learning the information, is you create an evidence-based yoga group program. And so some of those programs, and this you're writing this as if you were going to submit it to an organization to kind of launch your career or do something that you might want to do in your life. So for example, last year, one of the students wrote a program for survivors of domestic violence. And that program she then piloted in the practicum class. And it went over so well that the nonprofit she partnered with hired her to create a teacher training, because they want to put it in every city where they have an office around the country, and then eventually global. So that was really a huge great thing. Another student created a program for menopause, and that got this student, we have international students, that students in Israel, and their national health organization took that, brought that into them for all of their citizens having access to that. And then up until what happened recently, she was invited to bring that to a group of Arab women, which was something that she was really interested in doing. So that launched pretty well. We have people who do it for, one person did it for social activists. Somebody did it for early pregnancy loss. Laura's doing one for caregivers and grief, and the effects that it has on their health, particularly heart, cardiovascular, and respiratory. So that's a really, really intense class with lots and lots to learn, and that can take that out into the world. Another student wrote something for an undergraduate course, and the university hired her to implement that. So it's really exciting. The applications course is more of a skills-based class. So we learn particularly breath assessment, because that's something that doesn't really cross over into other modalities too often. Respiratory therapists pretty much work in the hospital. So you learn a brief musculoskeletal assessment, a cardiovascular assessment, breath assessment, how to do yogic counseling is what we call, using applied yoga philosophy for enhancing well-being, and then skills like motivational interviewing and some trauma work. That's a very different type of class. And then in the practicum, if people are interested, they can write an IRB project, which is Institutional Review Board. So learn how to pass an ethics board to do a small research project, or work with case studies. And then in that class, you either implement your project in a small scale or work with individual clients, and then create a poster that could be presented at a conference. And then those who are interested in also going for International Association of Yoga Therapists certification, that you would do all of that in the master's, and then also 2 additional elective classes that are each about 100 hours. So everybody in the MA takes 1 elective. And so that would meet, one of those would meet the requirement for the MA elective. Then you just take a second elective. And those are a musculoskeletal course and a mental health course in special populations. And then there are additional practicum hours after you would complete the program. And if you do all of that, you can then qualify for certification with IAYT. So that's the quick overview. Katie, I'll hand it back.
Thank you, Dr. Fazio. Does anyone have any questions specifically for Dr. Sladoff or for Dr. Fazio? And we can include Dr. Chappell in there too, just about coursework or anything like that.
I'll share one more thing just about the pedagogy of the yoga therapy. Is anyone here interested in yoga therapy? Just otherwise, I'm not so sure. Yeah. Is it Kishana? How do I pronounce that? I want to make sure I say it.
Almost, Kishana.
Kishana, great. Thank you, Kishana. So, so in many yoga therapy programs, the approach is learning practices for different symptoms and conditions. So like, what's the person's diagnosis and what do we do? In the graduate program, we take a little bit different spin. You still learn many of those things, but the approach that we actually use is looking more at root cause. So recognizing that the majority of disease, root cause is stress. And so therefore we look at how do we get to root cause and how do we support people towards well-being? And that's oftentimes framed as a word that's called salutogenesis. So what supports health and well-being versus what's the pathology and how do we fix it? So it's a little bit different approach, and it's an approach that can at times facilitate transformative change in people, but of course that's if they're ready. So that's the approach that we take, which is very much an applied philosophy approach. And I'll hand that back, Katie.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, and I'll just give another moment and if there are any other questions. I'm gonna transition after questions just into how to apply and show you some important things to note on our website about funding. But real quick, any other questions? Dr. Chappell.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about some of the foundations that help support our work. And these include the Fred Lenz Foundation for the study of actually American Buddhism, but meditation and yoga writ large, the Uberoi Foundation for Religious Studies, and Homeboy Industries. And we have a dawning opportunity for students to affiliate with Homeboy Industries, which has a K-12 support network. And our yoga people will be working with the young people of Homeboy Industries, learning how yoga can help keep them focused and organized. And for those of you not familiar with Homeboy Industries, it was established by Father Greg Boyle. And what his motto sums it up is that the best way to prevent a death is to find someone a job. And that's the work. And it's families, he's just so remarkable, and we're so honored to be welcomed in, or for our students to have the opportunity, and it'll be well paid, to do this work as they are engaged in graduate study. So Lori.
Thanks. I forgot about what I've been working on most of the day is India.
Yeah, that too.
Sorry, I forgot to mention this. So we also have, which we're intending to do every 2 years, is I take a group of students to India on a yoga therapy study abroad trip. So we go in December for 2 weeks approximately, and we start off in Chennai, and then we go to Pondicherry, to the Mahatma Gandhi Medical Center, where all the patients who are admitted, yay, Laura, who are admitted to the hospital have the opportunity to have yoga therapy. And we study with Dr. Ananda Bhavanani and his team there, the Institute for Salutogenesis and Complementary Medicine, which also is with music therapy department. Now they have expanded their department. And so we study there and see how yoga therapy is implemented in the hospital. And then we do a little bit of sightseeing, and then we fly across the country to the mountains of Loyola, where the first yoga therapy research center that was created in 1920 is Kaivalyadam. And we study with their teachers. They have I believe it's the largest Sanskrit library. There's many texts that have yet to be translated there. And so we meet with their philosophy department. We study with their yoga therapists, we meet with their Ayurvedic practitioners, and they have naturopathy. And so that's actually open to everybody. That's open to the public. If somebody's interested in kind of getting a little experience, kind of dipping their toe in, that is open to everybody. And then that also counts as an elective. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to share.
Thanks, Lori. And Dr. Chappell, you okay if I go into how to apply and all that?
All good, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So the link I put in the chat, which I will put in the chat again, this is to the Yoga Studies homepage through LMU. And if you scroll all the way down, you'll kind of get a sense of all the programs we offer. But at the bottom, you see this section right here called about how to apply. And so a couple of things I want to direct you to. Again, as I mentioned before, I would highly recommend just setting up a one-on-one appointment with Ayana to just chat through, where you're at, what your goals are, and she can really help you figure out what is most aligned for you. And her email is there as well. And here you'll find the application requirements. There's also information about scholarships and assistantships, as well as some FAQs. And if you go here to tuition details, if you're wondering how much does all this cost, you can click here. And this link will take you to the tuition for this school year. Now, just so you understand, how to translate all this, if you go all the way down to BCLA, Bellarmine College of Liberal Arts, that's what our program is under. And this is the cost per unit. And as you can see, it's lower than some of the other programs, so that's nice. And our so it's about, if you're just doing the MA track, it's about $52,000. Now we do have some funding opportunities that you will see on this first page, and Ayana can help direct you. And again, we offer graduate assistantships, like I mentioned in my own personal experience. I got to work for the department, and that helped offset some costs. That got me some funding for the program. And then there's also some scholarship opportunities. And then just to also name, and something I forgot to mention in my personal share earlier in this session, was what's really unique about this program is you get all the perks of being affiliated with a university. So that comes with, insurance, healthcare, and different things like that. You get to take advantage of our Career and Professional Development Center, and interdepartmental opportunities. So if you wanted to take courses in other departments, that's a possibility. There's also an entrepreneurial incubator program. So a lot of really different unique things that you wouldn't just get from, getting to study somewhere else. And again, I'm going to just stop share now. Does anyone have any additional questions about anything we covered, about how to apply? I guess I didn't actually stop. Let me share one more time. Apologies, I forgot to tell you what the actual application process is like. But we'll need some transcripts from you, a letter of intent, 2 letters of recommendation, and a short video introduction. So yeah, if you upload this to YouTube, you would put this on, I don't actually think it's the private setting, it's the unlisted setting, so that people can, and we would be able to view it, but it's not necessarily a public video. And then an essay response in response to this article from one of the texts that we cover in the program. And here's a couple other things for admission for international students. I guess now, does anyone have any questions about applying, about anything we talked about, or maybe something we didn't cover? I'm also going to just copy and paste what I shared earlier, so you have the links fresh and our email addresses as well. We got the website, how to apply, one-on-one appointment with Ayana, and everyone's email address. I can put mine in as well. This is just something I pasted from Ayana earlier.
I want to welcome Mega Wog to our session. I'm thinking that maybe daylight savings does not apply wherever you live. But Mega, do you want to come on and introduce yourself and say a little bit about your interests?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Megha. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So ironically, I'm from Pune and India, and very close to Loyola, almost just an hour's drive away, where y'all would be taking the people for a visit. I am into Iyengar yoga. I have been doing it actually past 30 years, but at our institute, we don't have a proper course. It's a very traditional system at the BKS Iyengar Institute, which is located in Pune itself. And they believe in practice doing and, experiencing it for yourself as such. So I just was keen on a course where I would do a little bit more of theory in a more systematic manner. That was why I was keen just to see how you all go about it. And so I was exploring different universities, and I thought that if I could meet some people in person online in that sense and understand what you offer, I would like to explore that option. So I do teach yoga already and practice myself.
Well, it'd be wonderful if Lori could meet you when they're in Lonavala.
We actually fly into Pune. So yes, if you wanted to come by, we'll be at Kaivalya Dam for a few days there. Pretty much intense morning till nighttime in classes and such.
Oh, Laurie, I would love that. Let me know, and I could message you my email, and
Yeah, my
it's a
email's
nice
in the chat.
introduction.
My email's in the chat. So if you could send me a chat, I will connect with you and let you know our schedule. That would be great.
I'd love that. So I was
Yeah.
just smiling to myself when you were talking. I said, it's really a small world at times.
Yeah,
Indeed.
and I had a wonderful afternoon with BKS Iyengar shortly before his passing, and he
Okay.
gave I have this great photo of us together, and he
Oh,
gave a beautiful blurb about Sacred Thread, which is a illustrated version of the Yoga Sutra that I compiled with some colleagues over a 2-year period. But what just a lovely presence. Did you have a chance to get to know him a bit before he passed?
yeah. Because I am 50 years old now. When I was 16, I joined the institute. So Guruji was in the institute all the time. So
Yeah.
did classes with him, and now his with his son Prashant Iyengar and his daughter Geeta Iyengar. I'm grateful to God that I had the opportunity to study and still am studying under them. So yoga is a process which actually never ends. So like an ocean, the more you do, the more you realize there's so much more to know.
So true. So true. And Pune is such a lovely city.
Yeah, it is a nice city. It is, in a way, I don't know if you're aware, it is called the Oxford of the East. So lots of people all over India come here for the purpose of education. But I was keen, to go more deeper into research. Specifically, of course, there are a lot of institutes doing it in India also. But I just felt the West has a more interest into going into research. It's unfortunate, though yoga has begun in India, not many people are getting into the research part of it, of
Yeah, no, I had a
seeing the
Fulbright
effect of
in,
pranayama. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
I had a Fulbright in 2019, and
Okay.
I'd been invited to the United Nations in 2018 when Dr.
Yeah.
Nagendra assembled people announcing the academic rollout. And I lectured at 15 of the universities that are now offering these yoga degrees throughout India. And on the
Okay.
one hand, I'm thrilled. All these young people are learning a trade, and they're more or less guaranteed employment at all of these basic health clinics. And
Mm.
you're right. With the rigor of the curriculum that we've compiled, which is language, physiology, philosophy, psychology, spirituality, and the sort of celebration of the depth and the richness and the breadth in the history, I think that, yeah, if I were choosing, I would probably do our program rather
Oh,
than.
okay. Yeah, so it's just that I feel that maybe I sound very old-fashioned, but it has become a lot into just teaching. Of course, earning your, I mean, getting employed, earning some money is very important. But I wish people are able to also explain the spiritual aspect in the sense of how you can actually need to work on yourself. And it's not just only about asana alignment or specifically like that. It is more about an inward journey. And uh, that is what needs to be shared with the people at large
Well, what I
and
would
not
love for
just,
you, Mega, I would love for you to
yeah.
do our program and then
Okay.
arrange to finish off with a doctorate and then become a
Okay.
faculty member in those
Okay.
many programs because they need good faculty. And some of the top programs, the people teaching yoga have master's degrees in tourism. They don't
Oh,
have, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit scary. So I would see an incredible job opportunity for you to
oh,
serve
thank
in
you.
India.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. That's nice. Thank you so much. And do share more about your course. And I would, do I have to, for the scholarship parts and all, it is not in this lecture, right? It is in another part, right?
Well, but just briefly, what we do is we put together as good a package as we can. And we, as long as people request, and what American citizens have to do is they have to prove need, but the discount of 25% is our normal grant. And believe me, there are people for whom no discount is needed. And I know the numbers sound large, but there are people of means that have an interest in yoga. And then we're able often to increase that by a little bit more, sometimes as much as 50% off. And then we're also able to, from the foundations, often find some additional funding. So if you're truly sincere, it is possible for a package to be put together.
Okay. And just a small question, if you're on the course, is it possible to work and get some, part employment or staying facilities and all that? Because
Okay, if you come to America, you would qualify for an assistantship or employment within the university.
okay,
You have to
okay,
first get your student visa. And if you
okay,
relocate here, if you have family here, that makes it so much easier. But if you relocate here, yes, as a non-citizen, you're able to work within the university. And some of our international students work in various units of the university. And then when you complete the degree, you're able to apply for 1 year of internship. And my hope for you is you to return to India and become a college professor and lift up
oh,
the
that'd be nice.
standards. Yeah. But if you
That'd be
decide you
nice.
want to immigrate, you have to find a sponsor and a green card and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a secondary part. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is a lot of information. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
I
are
mean, you
there
can
any
continue
other-
with your this. Yeah.
Yeah, are there any other questions? I think we've kind of covered everything that we had planned. We are ending a little early, and we'll send out the recording, of course. So if there aren't any other questions, you can feel free to jump off. And if anyone wants to linger and ask them specific questions,